Welcome to the realm of Millenia. Be ye man, woman, child, spirit, creature, or demon. Be ye a native migrator, or maybe even an innovator into the realm. Welcome, for I am your host, the Millenia Mailman, here today. And I'll be world building for you long after you've already begun to acclimate, fit in, and do all the other awesomeness for the realm of Millenia and its lore. Because today is a Tourism Tuesday, meaning I'll be going over stuff that is actually in the book, directly in the book, and trying to help build the lore around the novel I'm writing for you here, and so on and so forth. Really, that's pretty much it in the target. So I do have the topic of succubus I wanted to go over today, but before that, I'm going to rant and rave about the current character I'm doing and trying to work on for book number 1. I'm not going to say his name, but I'm going to kind of describe his character design to you. I want it to be a Chinese speaking character. Well, not necessarily a Chinese, but I want it to be like a Chinese character, right? I want the character to be Asian and fluently speaking Chinese, preferably, but with the biggest preference, I want it to be a Japanese bloodline individual who speaks fluent Chinese and acts in a manner best corresponding to Chinese culture, be it their outfit, be it their dialects. I want it to be heavily Chinese, right? Because this particular character is extremely self-loathing, self-regretful, self-reproachful, and that ultimately one of the most things you get from this character is how much they hate themselves. They hate themselves so much, right? That they're basically popping pills constantly and always contemplating something along the lines of seppuku. So that is a really, really big, heavy influence on this particular character, on how much they dislike each other. I very much understand that Japanese and Chinese history has created a whole eternal blood feud of sorts, but that's kind of the point, right? So if as far as like live action renditions, it could probably be played by any character or any person. Make it a Russian black person, a black skin complexioned Russian, right? I don't care, as long as they get the mannerisms right for the character, right? But as far as like down bad preferences, like most ideal perfect version, I want someone of Japanese bloodline, speaking fluent Chinese dialects, and knows a bit about the history between the two countries in order to properly embody the not even properly, but like best embody the concept and ideals behind the mental space of this particular character, where this particular character is so self-loathing, and it is such a thing where the hardest part about why this particular character and writing them out is taking so long is, one, I have the guidelines of what I wanted for the character and everything mentioned, and the particular like chronological and insequential order of the things being talked about to go in alignment to their powers. That was already complicated, and I already have the basis and the general outline of that. But in addition to that, I went out of my way to talk to a Japanese person I know and find someone who is relatively fluent in Chinese and make sure that when writing, the order in which I write the things that this character is thinking and how they choose to talk about it makes sense in both of the languages, right? So the order in which I say it and the way I say certain phrases is very like stringently important. Like in the Chinese language, the words magic and demon or devil are somewhat interchangeable because of the kanjis and characters being used, and there are similar influences in the Japanese language, but the nuances of formal versus informal nature of how you say it and the occasion which you say it is I had to be a I don't really have to, but I want to be extremely particular as possible as to be accurate to both of the languages nuances that per se a Japanese person raised in China might be influenced for, right? Because they might have history in Japan, but due to their certain native ideological training and influence from being raised in China or living in China for an extended period of time, right? I wanted to accurately, like, hey, I was born Japanese and I learned the Japanese language. Then I escaped or came to China. I learned and love the Chinese culture and hate my own. So, again, that self hate breeding in there. So, when they're talking and speaking in the Chinese language and they interpret it to Japanese in their mind, I wanted it to, the wording order to match that kind of comprehension and understanding. So I basic so I basically had to translate it, have what I wanted translated to English, Japanese, Chinese, and Chinese, Japanese back to English, such that it stays consistent in how the reader is reading it. So there's three particular occasions in this character's writing where in English it probably doesn't make much of any sense at all until much later on, but in both Japanese and Chinese, which is how I wrote it down to be interpreted by, but in both Japanese and Chinese, the script makes the most fluid sense, especially as an Easter egg, where it's like, oh, that kind of, does that mean, yeah, the people who are Japanese and translating it to Japanese and translating it to Chinese, they will understand it long before any fellow American who's, or anyone who speaks explicitly solely English, right? The Easter egg I have in there about the terms and words being used would nod to what is actually being referenced immediately for Chinese and Japanese individuals and be more of a mind gamed teaser and twister for anyone else and most likely any other language, right? Because again, this character I want to be like of Japanese bloodline, but with heavily influenced to Chinese ideologies, and that's pretty much complicating things because of the whole self-loathing aspect I'm getting involved with that. So the reason, again, part of the reason why it's taking so long in order to get this particular character in is one, the self-loathing aspect of how I write it first and initially, and how I'm trying to not use like Google Translate and going for actual human translations of the actual races I'm trying to incorporate and be included. So, getting in touch with linguist teachers and actual certified career translators is kind of the big deal that's holding me up on this particular character. And in the meantime, anytime I submit a few pages over to them and have to wait for it back, I have to kind of skip the chapter and tweak and detail other characters that I want to go on later but can't officially finish because they come after this character, and I want everything for this character to be done and finished and done properly before I fully move on to getting everyone else done. So this character, with how particular I'm being about them as I write them, is probably going to be the longest hiatus to a lot of my book's production right now, because I'll say it once, I'll say it a million times, this particular character and the self-hate aspect and particularity of making it perfect for the both Japanese and Chinese language is such a heavy thing. And in the realm of Millenia, most of the regular language is considered kind of like a dead language, right? Because no one necessarily uses like regular language unless they're unawakened. And I should probably do another video on that. But yeah, so by golly, I do digress. That's pretty much the mainstay and everything I really had on my mind to really discuss before talking about the succubus race for the actual video I intended today. But I'm letting you know I am making progress, but progress is slow and probably not going to be picking up soon on the development of the book, because it's a bee in my face. The progress on the book is not going to probably pick up until much later, until after this particular character section of the book is completed. But do look forward to it. There is a self-loathing character in here, and that is going to be namely the only character that probably is entirely centered on that. Other characters, there are natural intricacies that involve self-loathing and resentments, but this particular character is the only one that is, whose whole personality is basically the self-loathing aspect, and those are the complications of me trying to make it absolutely perfect, right? Perfect, get out of here, rendition of it. Dandelions. So yeah, that is the thing for me. Anything from you, go ahead, put that down there in the comment section down below. Like, comment, share for more exposure, or subscribe if you feel like, and dislike the video if you don't. I don't mind either way, but by golly, by all means, that's just me. Hope you enjoyed, and recognize that I'll be posting as often and as much as I need to in order to let you guys feel safe and secure in the fact that I'll be pumping out more content for you faster than any of the gears can turn that way. So by all means, have a good one in peace. Bye-bye. All right, time to get to the succubus.